Mark, will it look like last year, this year?
Well, it's rare to see 2 years look exactly alike. I think they will be equally robust. I think they're going to look a little bit different, but it's going to be a very interesting time. There'll be different components. But I think having such a strong 2020 is a good backdrop for 2021. The markets shook off yesterday already, and the VIX came down a little bit today. I think we're going to have a very interesting first quarter. There'll be some that test the market very rapidly. Watch how those get received. If they get received well, I think you're going to have a terrific 21.
We're looking for a firm, for example, to raise potentially $1 billion. That's what they're targeting in their IPO, which we're expecting to happen sometime in the next few weeks. That one was scheduled for the end of last year, but got pushed. Talk to us about the companies that you are watching. Presumably it sounds like you think the IPO window is still wide open.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a great year last year, particularly in tech and healthcare. We saw a lot both on the IPO side in the traditional sense and on the SPAC side. And I would expect that to be similar in 2021. I think the backdrop of such great success for some of the tech IPOs probably has some companies thinking about accessing the public markets sooner, given how well received they were. And the SPAC receptivity, I think, is also a good sign and harbinger for 21. What you're also going to see is those companies now need to buy companies. So those are almost re-IPOs because you're usually raising some capital. So it's like a second bite of the apple. So I would expect healthcare and tech to dominate in early 21. And you're going to see, again, some of those examples right away in the first month or two. And I'd expect that to be well received and be a harbinger again for 21's outperformance like we saw last year in that marketplace.
Do you think these outperformances, though, will keep up? I mean, you look at a company like Airbnb and DoorDash, companies that more than doubled on their first day of trading. Do you think they're going to be able to keep up that momentum, or were they just wildly mispriced?
A couple things. I think there is a hysteria in the IPO market because people missed a lot of the great IPOs of 2019 and before that. They think they missed Peloton, they missed Zoom. I could name a dozen, Carvana, Cloudflare, on and on and on. They missed it. So they didn't want to be, there's a lot of FOMO in some of those people. So maybe they bid up the prices of those stocks materially. Those companies, now that they're public, have to perform. We saw companies that were very well received the year before, like Lyft and Uber, who had a hard time getting back to those first day prices and still have had a hard time. That doesn't mean they won't be great public companies. So let's watch those names. But I think that those sectors are still the hottest sectors that work from home, that explosive market in healthcare where we saw a vaccine be created in less than a year. That's going to be really good for healthcare. We got an IPO market that's going to be receptive. We also have a conference next week that won't quite look like the historical JP Morgan conference where you have 2,000 people descending on San Francisco. But next week is healthcare week for a lot of Wall Street. Let's watch the healthcare market to see where there's some receptivity. There's some great private companies that are going to access the public markets and access capital this year. And that's where I'd be paying attention.
Right, the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, one we will definitely be following as well. I definitely want to get your take on this New York Stock Exchange controversy, saying they're going to delist these Chinese telecoms, then backtracking, then saying they are reconsidering. Of course, we're in the waning days of the Trump administration. Does the uncertainty stop when he leaves office, or do you see continued tension between the U.S. and China and possibly confusion?
Yes to everything. I think, yes, we have 2 weeks left in the Trump administration, and January 20th will be a momentous day for the country, and it'll be a momentous day for the future of both the country and the markets. I think there will be continued pressure on China. I think Trump did open up a dialogue about what China has done for our markets and what they've done for cyber and some other things globally that we are not going to lose because we lose the president. We have a new president. There is certainly concern about the Chinese and what they are doing. And that's not going to abate on January 21st. In fact, I think it'll accelerate because a lot of what we should be paying attention to has been de-emphasized, frankly, by the Trump administration. So I expect that to continue. I think the last chapter hasn't been written, so don't pay attention to the next 2 weeks. I think you pay attention to what the Trump administration leaves and what the Biden administration starts. And I think there will be continued focus on China and some of the issues that surround the relationship between the two countries.